Doesn't mean it will straight away go up all the way and rebound like 100%, and the sellers came back and push it even lower. This is signs of a downtrend. I mean, the uptrend actually accelerated even more. Just by looking at prices itself for any single stock, we can actually tell the trend of it, right? Whether is it in an uptrend or whether is it in a downtrend. And how do we do that? Well, we can look at these prices and draw what we call trend lines. Exactly, trend lines. So in this video, I'll be talking about trend lines. When do we draw it? How do we even draw it? And after drawing it, what does it even mean? Hey guys, welcome to this video. Joey here, top tier MySale trader in Philip Securities, and I'll be talking about trend lines. So before I talk about some live case study and we'll go ahead to draw some trend lines, I want to go ahead to dive into my whiteboard right over here and explain to you what I mean by trend lines. So you can see that in most of the cases, a stock that is moving in what we call a downtrend would be something like this, right? It will not move down like every single day. Sometimes you'll see a bit of a movement as it swings up again. There might be some short covering, and it looks something like this as it swings up. Look at this, it starts to swing up, and swing up, but as it breaks a certain support level, it starts to hit even lower. And the key is that in a downtrend, we can see prices forming what we call lower highs. So you can see, right, the highs actually gets lower in a downtrend. So just by connecting all the highs, you can see that we can actually draw what we call a downward sloping trend line right over here, right? So you can see I connect the highs, all right, forming lower highs, and based on these lower highs, we can actually draw a downward sloping trend line. So I call this trend line also a channel resistance line that is sloping downward. So very easily, how do we tell if a stock is in a downtrend? Just by basically looking at the prices. Well, as long as we are below, all right, so like right over here, you can see we are below this red line. Well, I would say that we are pretty much in a downtrend, and we don't really want to think about buying in a downtrend, because in the downtrend, the stock can just go lower and lower. It can get cheaper and cheaper. It can break a support level. It can hit even lower. So we never want to think about buying in the downtrend. We only want to think about buying a stock that is showing some signs of a reversal or maybe already in an uptrend. Does it make sense? All right, so let me go on to talk about how do we actually potentially spot a reversal, all right, of the stock maybe turning from down to maybe even starting to point up. Well, look at this right over here. You can see that somewhere along the way, we can potentially see the prices actually crossing back above this red line. All right, so this is a kind of like a channel resistance line. It's a downtrend trend line, all right, and you can see as we break above it, that is a sign of a potential reversal of the stock. It doesn't mean it will straight away go up all the way and rebound like 100%. It doesn't mean that, but it just means that, well, finally, all right, after a couple of months of it below this trend line, this red trend line, we have finally gone above it. So that's where we could be seeing some strength in the stock. There could be a potential reversal, and that's where you want to start thinking about putting this stock in your watch list, or looking to position yourselves in these stocks to ride the uptrend. All right, so now that we have break above this downward sloping trend line, all right, that's where we can turn into an uptrend, right? And how do we tell if a stock has turned into an uptrend? Well, if it starts to form what we call higher lows, right? So just by looking at this lows, right, you can see that it is forming higher lows as the price moves forward. That means each time it trades back down. So even in an uptrend, it doesn't go up every single day, all right? Sometimes we can see a bit of a short-term retracement, which is healthy as well, because as it retraces back down, all right, we might have found a higher support level, and buyers actually came back to push prices even higher and went down again. Prices push up even higher, went up even higher. So each time we push back down, it doesn't go back down to like the same previous low, all right? It just went down a little bit to a higher low, and buyers came back and pushed it even higher. That's how we get what we call higher lows. And we can also draw what we call an upward sloping trend line. Look at this right over here. That connects the lows and it forms higher lows. So this is what we call an uptrend, all right, an uptrend at this portion right over here, just because now prices are above this upward sloping trend line. So just by looking at the prices alone, we can easily tell if a stock is in a downtrend, maybe looking at a reversal, or maybe already in an uptrend. So let's take a look at some live case studies of some of the top US stocks to put into practice whatever we have learned regarding trend lines. And if you found some value so far, guys, regarding this video, my diagram on my whiteboard, and also the case studies that we were looking at as well, I would really appreciate if you can give me a like, smash the subscribe button, smash the follow button. That will really help out the channel. Thank you so much, right? So let's move on right now to this stock called Microsoft. So for Microsoft, you can see that we have pretty much turned into an uptrend, right, over the past 1.5 years, right? But before we turn in an uptrend, we were actually in a downtrend, right? So let me go ahead to explain to you what I mean, and let's go to practice drawing this trend line. So you can see that somewhere around like 2022, Microsoft, we hit the high somewhere around here. The high was about the same. The high went a little bit lower. It went lower. It went lower, right? So you can see that, you know, pretty much the same as what I've drawn just now, right? When we see lower highs, that means each time it rebounds, sellers came back and pushed prices even lower. It went up a bit, and the sellers came back and pushed it even lower. So this is signs of a downtrend, right? Something like what I've drawn previously over here, right? It's a bit of a downtrend, and we have lower highs. And based on this lower high, can we actually draw a downward sloping red line, this trend line that is pointing down? Well, we can. So let's go to practice it, or you can see that we can draw, based on these lower highs, we can draw a downward sloping trend line connecting the high. So right over here, you can see that we just connect the high somewhere over here, and let's just put it in red in color. All right, there we have it. This is what we call a downward sloping trend line. So Microsoft has been in a downtrend, I would say, end of 2021 all the way to beginning of 2023, about 1 year plus. 1 year plus, right? It's a downtrend, so we don't want to think about buying in a downtrend, because you can see that it can hit lower and lower. All right, it went from about $340 all the way to $220. So just imagine if you're like buying in a downtrend, it's down by about 35 to 36%. All right, so we try not to buy in a downtrend. We only want to think about buying when there are signs of a reversal, or when prices actually were to break above, all right, this downward sloping trend line. That can mean that, you know, the downtrend is over, or we could potentially turn into an uptrend. And once it turns into an uptrend, yes, that is where you want to start putting this stock in your watch list. You want to start, you know, monitoring this stock for an entry to get into right the uptrend, because right now the stock is turning to be strong. It's no longer going down and breaking a support and heading to new lows. No, right? It is turning strong. It is starting to see a reversal, and that's where you want to start riding stocks like this that are in an uptrend, or in the process, or in a reversal to an uptrend. All right, so you can see this is Microsoft right over here. We broke above this downward sloping red trend line, and this red trend line, you can also call it a channel resistance level. All right, resistance line. So we went above it, you can see, traded down a little bit, but eventually prices actually rebounded and pushed away from this red trend line. So they pushed even higher. So let me just zoom out, and we can see if we have formed what we call higher low. So just before we draw an upward sloping trend line, all right, we can see that it has formed higher low. So this was the low, or kind of like the bottom somewhere in 2022, around that $220. It went to about $250. It went a little bit higher at $280. It went a little bit higher, a little bit higher. So you can see the support level is getting higher and higher. All right, so as it were to retrace back down, so as I mentioned, right, in an uptrend, which is where we want to think about buying, right, it doesn't mean that it goes up every single day, right? Once in a while, for like in the short term, like 1 or 2 months, or maybe a couple of weeks, we can see weakness, right? It may just sell down a little bit, it may sell down a little bit, it may sell down a little bit, right? But the case is that as it sells down, right, it doesn't go back all the way down to the previous low, right? It just goes down a little bit in the short term. Buyers comes back and start pushing up even higher, even higher. Does it make sense? Even higher, right? So it goes up even higher, and that's why we are forming not just higher lows, but also higher highs as well in an uptrend. All right, so you can see another low right over here, somewhere around that $400, so another higher low. So based on these higher lows, you can see that we can draw an upward sloping, all right, trend line. All right, so let's, from here, you can see the bottom, maybe all the way up to here, right? We try to connect what we call the lows, right? The lows. So let me just remove all this over here. You can see that what I've drawn to connect the lows would be something like this over here. Look at this, right? So you kind of like hit it the first 1 time, 2 times, 3, 4, 5, right? So this is what we call an upward sloping trend line. So it has turned in an uptrend since last year, and as long as we were to stay above this green line, I would say that we are pretty much in an uptrend, and that's where we want to think about riding stocks like this, on dips to certain support levels, yes, we can think about getting in again to ride even more upside. All right, so this is Microsoft, one of the stocks that is still in our watch list. All right, that is pretty much an uptrend just by looking at what we call the trend lines without any single indicator, just by looking at prices, and from the prices we can draw the lows and the highs, and based on these lows and highs we can draw the trend lines, and we can kind of gauge the direction of the trend and time our entry to be along with the trend. All right, so let's take a look at another case study to practice drawing the trend lines and how we can actually use these trend lines to guide us on entry and exit to be along with the trend. And by the way, guys, if you like this video so far and you want to get some of my top ideas, so we are looking at US stocks today, but if you want to get some of my top ideas by WhatsApp on a daily basis, all right, you can click on the link below this video, check out how you can become a VIP client of mine in Phillip Securities. So in case you don't know, guys, I'm a top tier reminder trader in Phillip Securities, and that's where we do provide some services to our clients as well. We do share some top ideas on a daily basis, some private training videos, articles and all that to our clients. So click on the link below if you want to get some of these ideas much faster, especially if you are trading in Singapore. I mean, you're trading like the US stocks, Singapore stocks, or any type of stocks, Hong Kong stocks, whatever, and you do not get any service from your broker. All right, you don't get any ideas or videos or WhatsApp or anything like that. You don't even know who your broker even is. Then make sure you come aboard as a client of mine in Phillip Securities, whereby we do share some of those top ideas much faster. All right, so let's get on right now into trend lines again, into this case study, and this will be like Meta Platforms, one of the stocks that we have caught for as well since last year. So now that we have a look at Meta Platform again, let's see if we can draw trend line. So very simple, something like Microsoft, right? You can see that for Meta Platforms, we were in a bit of a downtrend, I would say, since like 2021, perhaps even earlier, right? Right over here, you can see we form what we call the highs, all right, and the highs, and the highs, right? So you could see that the highs just got lower and lower since like 2021 all the way until the end of 2022. So based on these lower highs, can we draw this downward sloping trend lines? Well, we can, right? So let me go to draw, I think somewhere over here. So we try to draw what we call the best fit line that connects the more highs, the more points. I mean, you need like 2 points to draw a line, right? So you have like 3, 4, 5, or 6 points, even better. That's where you give more weight to that line. So I think right over here, you can see that we can draw a downward sloping trend line connecting the high. So let me just put this in red in color. You can see this is what we call a downward sloping trend line. You can see right over here, we kind of like touch 1, 2, all right, and yeah, we didn't really touch it around here. You can see we neared it, all right, but somewhere over here, we kind of like touch it and we was below this red trend line, also a channel resistance level. So kind of like went down even more, all right, and it was a bit of a downtrend, I would say, right, just by looking at this prices remaining below this channel resistance. But somewhere along the way, right, end of 2022, right, what we want to look out for would be if we were to see prices, right, same thing, crossing above this red trend line. When that happens, that is where you want to start putting stocks like this in your watch list. That is where we could start to see a potential reversal. It may even turn into an uptrend, right? So you can see for Meta Platform, we saw a pretty good rise, rally all the way up from beginning of 2023 all the way to where we are right now, and it has already turned into an uptrend, not just last week or last month, but since like beginning of last year. And we can draw what we call higher lows in terms of their support becoming higher. So this was like kind of like the support level would be where prices kind of like rebound and push even higher. You can see this is also a little bit of a support. It went up. Look at this. This is definitely a support level. A support, it rebounded up. A support level we have found as well. So you can see support has gone higher, I would say, over the past 1 year plus, right? And based on these higher support levels, we can draw an upward sloping trend line. So when a stock is in an uptrend or turning into an uptrend, we want to think about riding stocks like this, strong stocks which are strong, has the potential to push higher. Yes, it might be a little bit more expensive, I mean, from here compared to right at the bottom, but the point is that we are not able to buy right at the bottom, because at that point in time, there isn't a very clear signal of a reversal yet. So you want to think about buying stocks that are strong, they are in an uptrend. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit more expensive, because that's where that's the reason why it's more expensive, because it is strong and it has the potential to push even higher. All right, so based on this, we can draw an upward sloping channel support line or this upward sloping trend line. Let me just put this in green in color. You can see kind of like try to connect the lows, right? So the more points, the better it is. So you can see right over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're still above here. So I think that is where we can draw an upward sloping trend line. So right now you can see prices are still kind of like above this upward sloping trend line. So we are in a pretty good uptrend. Of course, in the short term, we can also see weakness, right? But as it dips back down, the thing is that are we still above this trend line right over here? Are we still above this trend line, or have we broken down below it? Well, if we have broken down below it, you want to be careful, because that's where potentially we may see the trend reverse now from up to a downwards direction. But as long as we're to stay above this green line, like what I mentioned over here, right? As long as we stay above this upward sloping trend line, well, we are in a pretty good uptrend in the longer term, and that's where you can think about riding stocks on dips, on any pullbacks, get in to ride even more upside to maximize your profits in an uptrend. Okay, so let's take a look at one more case study, Applied Materials, well, the very popular semiconductor stock in the US as well. And guys, go ahead to hit the like and subscribe button if you're not yet done so that you will not miss out on videos like this. All right, so let's dive into drawing the trend lines again to see, is the trend up or down right now. I think you can safely say that for AMAT, Applied Materials, the trend has been up as well. But before we go into that, let's see what it was actually before it turned up, right? So you can see, right, for Applied Materials, we were pretty much forming what we call lower high. So let me go to draw this line. I think by now all of you would know how to draw. You can see that this is what we call a downward sloping trend line connecting the high, right? So somewhere over here, you can see we neared it, all right, neared it as well, lower highs, touch it, and we kind of broke above this downward sloping trend line. I mean, that it happens, right? As I say, that's where you want to start watching this stock, put it in your watch list. There could be a potential reversal based on a few other things that we can look at as well. So if you want to find a little bit more on the entire strategy, guys, go attend one of those free webinars. The link is right below the video. We are kind of like still running these webinars maybe the next 1 or 2 months, all right? So click on the link, register for it. That's where I'll share with you guys my one good trend strategy that will put everything into perspective. So it's not just trend lines, but we look at other things like certain indicators, candlestick, certain patterns, but how all of them come together, right? Trend lines is just one of very basic, one of very simple ways to look at trend just by looking at the prices. And yeah, you can do it as well. It's pretty simple. All right, so let's go on to talk about Applied Materials. You can see that the trend actually turned from a down to a potentially uptrend, right? Because we broke above this downward sloping trend line, and after that we could see that we can draw what we call upward sloping trend line, right, connecting the high. So somewhere over here you could see that would be a trend line as well. You can turn it to green in color, right? We want to try to draw a trend line connecting the low. So this was the low, it went a little bit higher, it went a little bit higher, 3 points, right? That can form an upward sloping channel support line, also called an upward sloping trend line, right? And you can see that as we progress forward a little bit more, the uptrend actually accelerated even more, and then we can draw another line as well. So one of the mistakes that most people make to draw trend lines would be that they kind of like zoom in. That means if you like zoom in too much like this, right, that would be hard to draw. I mean, it's a very, very short term kind of like a trend line. So it doesn't give much perspective of the longer term in terms of the longer term trend. So before you zoom in for the short term, like this, right, you want to zoom out first. So look at a trend line. So look at a price period of over a year or two. All right, with that, you have a better idea of the longer term trend before you even zoom in on the short term trend. All right, so over here, you can see that we have another low, right? So this is like the low, maybe another low right over here. So I think we can draw another upward sloping trend line, right? Maybe right over here, right? In this case, it's only like 2 points, or as I say, the uptrend accelerated even more. So from here, 1 point, 2 point, we have a trend line that is even steeper, right? Even steeper. That means this is even like a lower gradient. The gradient has turned a little bit more aggressive up, right? And the uptrend has gone up even more. So we are still above this upward sloping trend line. So the uptrend is pretty much intact, and that's where we're going to start holding on to stocks like this to ride them, or maybe to get in again if you're to see any dips like to near a support level as well. Okay guys, so there we have it. I hope you like this video, you found it useful, and you had a better idea of what exactly is a trend line. Alright, how do we know whether is it in an uptrend or downtrend, and more importantly, what do we want to do after drawing these trend lines? Alright, so I hope you have a better idea. Alright, so we have looked at some live case studies as well, so you can go to check out these 3 stocks as well. They are in our watch list, they're still in an uptrend, and they still look pretty strong in terms of the uptrend continuing even further. Alright, and if you like this video guys, go ahead to give me a like, smash the subscribe button. As I say, if you want to have some of our top ideas by WhatsApp daily, some of the top Singapore stock ideas, make sure you check out how you can become a VIP client of mine in Phillip Securities, whereby we do share some of those top ideas daily. Alright, especially if you are trading in Singapore, you have a trading account and you're not getting much service from your own broker, there's nobody contacting you, no WhatsApp, no ideas, no videos, nothing. Make sure you check it out, alright, and I look forward to work together with you even closer at no additional charge. So you pretty much pay the same as whatever you pay when you're trading, alright, but we do try to value add to our VIP clients as well. Alright, so Joey here, thank you so much for watching. I'll look forward to see you in the next video. Take care.